Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. In this episode, what you're going to see is part 2 of caring for your sleeping bag, or the last item in your big 3 that I started a series on. And I divided this up, as I mentioned in the last episode, into 2 parts. So in this episode, I'll really discuss caring for your sleeping bag in terms of storage long term. So if you're not going right back on the trail, what are some options, or even if you are going back on the trail, what are some options for you in taking care of your sleeping bag for storage? And there's obviously more than one option. I'm going to cover that in today's episode. I'll also discuss some other issues in terms of just taking care of it in general, washing, things like that. So I hope you'll enjoy that. Realize that I'm recording this beginning after I had already recorded that episode, so I'm kind of splicing this in. So if you see something and realize that it's out of sequence, realize that's what's taking place. So once again, thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy it. And that brings me to taking care of your bag after you're done doing the inspection. What do you do with it? Well, that's going to depend on a couple of factors. You need to know or decide what's happening next in terms of your gear. Are you planning another trip? Are you going to be going out very shortly? And that depends on what it means to you, what shortly means. But if I'm not going out for a month or so, or a couple of weeks, I'm going to store my bag away, what I call long-term or more long-term storage. If you know you're going back out in a week or two, it's not as important for me to worry about long-term storage. And the differences are, storing your bag in a compression sack long-term is bad for it. All the manufacturers, and most people agree that this is bad for it. It doesn't damage it or harm it in a way, but it does. There is a sense of memory in the feathers or the fill that's being compressed to get rid of the air, to get down to this size, that affects it when you take it out of the bag. It takes longer to loft up. It is always recommended that you, if you can, store your bag in an uncompressed state, especially for long term. So if I knew I wasn't going hiking for 6 months, let's say I only hike during the summer and spring, and now winter's coming, I know I'm not going out for 6 months. I would not want to keep my bag stored in this manner. Leaving it compressed like this is bad for it. So what do I want to do? Well, the ideal thing perfectly would be to leave it spread out and loft it up. But most of us don't have a spare bed or some 5-6 foot long piece of flat space that we can leave this inflated. So they've come up with a couple of compromises. Generally what you can do is, and in higher end bags, and when I say higher end bags, I mean the ones that are generally more costly and they're more expensive, not only because they're better usually, but because they provide higher fill. And if you don't know what fill is in terms of the bag with fill power, look that up, because generally it uses higher quality material, which allows you to get more warmth with less weight. Almost all the high-end bags will come with some sort of storage bag. So they'll come with a compression sack like this, and this is a Sea to Summit compression sack. This is an older one. I like it. It has 4 straps that you can really cinch down on. The only problem is that it adds weight. But you see how small it gets compared to another bag. But it comes with this storage bag for you to put your bag in when you're not on the trail, and they recommend using it. And what I like about these higher end bags is they almost always come with this, and it has some directions on care for the bag printed right on it. So you don't have to look it up anywhere. You have it with you all the time. And it may have care, it may have washing instructions, drying instructions, or storage instructions on it. What I also like about some of these higher end bags is you'll see that on the end of the bag, they have information on the bag. Obviously, they're advertising their company, but they also tell you what type of bag it is, what the temperature ratings are, what type of fill is in it. So, I might have bought this bag 6 years ago. I don't remember the model number. I don't remember what type of fill it is, or even a temperature rating maybe on it. But it's here on the bag. So, and obviously I can only speak about this bag. I don't have a newer bag. They may have changed their design and what they're doing, but if I take this bag out, you can see it's still compressed. Now this bag was just compressed for this video. I haven't used it in a while, so I generally keep it in that larger storage bag. So you can see it's going to take some time for it to loft up. What I like to do is just kind of fold it, you know, flat as much as possible. I'm not going to crunch it up, but it goes into this bag and it has a large drawstring opening, so it's easy to stuff it in, so to say. Then you can close it. You can, if you can and you have the room, this is the ideal way to store it. Just put it on a shelf. If you have a peg or somewhere with a hook, you can even hang it like this. There's no weight really holding it. It's going to loft up and fill this whole bag up in a short time. What I do like about the Sea to Summit is that not only can you leave it big like this bag, but it also includes a zipper that allows you to get this bag a little bit smaller. So I'm compressing it slightly, but not drastically enough that it's being squeezed. With the feathers are all compressed. They're just being kind of pushed into kind of a space, and it's still allowing it to fill. You can see it's still a little bit more voluminous, but what I like about it is it's very modular. So this is much easier to store than that large sack. And this is basically a big square, a big rectangle. It's a cube. It's easy to put on a shelf. You can have it facing out so you know exactly what it is. It's protected from any of the elements. It's protected from insects, from spills, from dust in this container. One of the tips I do have is if you're going to put your bag away for storage, take the compression sack and throw it in there with it. It'll save you from losing that compression sack, and it'll also make it easy for you to find it when you want to use it. So that's my big tip with that. I put the compression sack in there so that when I take this out, I have everything I need to put that bag away to take it on the trail. So that's my Sea to Summit bag. Just to illustrate another, here's the Enlightened equipment. And in one of the videos, when I first shot this, I had lost the compression sack, or I thought I lost the compression sack from my Enlightened equipment sleeping bag. But when I was going through my gear after I returned, in the bottom of the sleeping bag, inside my liner, the bag liner, I found my compression sack. So I didn't lose it. So I'm going to stick it in this bag, just like I showed you just now, because I want to use that compression sack in the future when I go out, and I won't have to look for it. It's stored with the bag. And once again, Enlightened equipment does the same thing that Sea to Summit does. They have washing directions, how to store it for your down. And on the end, what I really like is, because the bags are, you know, they use this bag for all their products, they check off with a marker what bag you received, what type of fill is in there, what the temperature rating is, how much it weighs even, which is really nice. So you have all that information readily available. One of the things I really also like is they put an order number, because each bag is custom made or it's handmade. They put an order number when you order it on the bag. So let's say 3 years from now, I don't know where my paperwork is. I don't remember. I ordered the bag from them. I don't remember what it is. You can call them up and they can look up that order number, and now they know exactly what bag you got. Don't be afraid to reach out to customer service for any of your products you have. That's what they're there for. They get a lot of, I'm sure, emails that are ridiculous, but there's questions there. If you're asking that question, maybe someone else has asked that question. Look on the frequently asked questions page before you reach out to them. But, you know, send an email. It's not a lot of labor to send an email off and ask a question about your bag. What's the best way to wash it? What's the best way to dry it? What do they recommend? Most of the time, that information is already on their website. You don't need to comment. But if you have an individual question about, like, I want to use this product, is it good? You should ask that. Most bag manufacturers will recommend using a certain type of wash that is good and safe for both the bag's material and the interior fill. You don't want to damage. Most feathers today, if it's real down, are coated or treated with some sort of water repellency that will also hopefully keep them from clumping. That's the big danger when you wash these. The feathers get wet, they clump into one big mess. And you have to make sure that they're spread throughout. You don't want all your fill being in one corner and you have nothing the rest of the bag. This bag will not help you then. So I've decided I'm going to put this bag away, and just like the Sea to Summit, I just stick it into the sack and close it up. And that's really it. There's nothing else that I need to do. And this bag, unfortunately, doesn't zipper like that one into a modular design, like a rectangle or a square. It just stays in the big sack. But, I can shape that and form it, and I can store it. Speaking of storage, let me just cover that briefly. I store all my equipment, much to my wife's dismay now, inside my house. I have 2 large plastic bins, Rubbermaid type bins, that I store most of my gear in. And that's to protect it from temperature variations, heat and cold, and insects and bugs out in my garage. I used to store a lot of equipment out in my garage, like probably most people do. The problem with that is it's susceptible to the high heat during the summer and the cold during the winter. And I find the heat especially, that high heat or humidity that you get during the summer, sometimes is not good for a lot of these materials. These products are made to go outside, yes, but they're not made to stay outside every day, all day, month after month after month. They don't do well with that, without some care and upkeep. So like my tents, I would find the rain flies would stick to each other. The taping or the sealant would become, peel off or separate. So the same thing with a sleeping bag. I don't want it to get stuck on each other. I don't want there to be a problem with humidity. I don't want any bugs or insects to get in there. I don't want dirt and dust to get in there. So by keeping it in the house, not only in its sack, which protects it, but then keeping it inside a bin, it's in a climate-controlled environment. There's no bugs and insects generally coming in there, and it stays safe. And when I'm ready to use it, I can take it out, pack it up, and I'm ready to go again. So that's my suggestion. I used to not take care of my gear as good as I do now because I care more for my gear because when I'm paying for it, it's quite expensive. Some of these gears are several $100s to get this sleeping bag is $200. I bought it on sale, so I got a little bit of a discount on it, and I've had it for about 5-6 years. So I've gotten my money's worth out of it, and I've used it on many trips, but I'd like to keep using it. It's still good. Why would I want to replace it? I don't have $200 that I just want to, buy a new bag all the time. Even if I did have it, why be wasteful with your money? Maybe there's other gear I want to buy. The next bag I bought, the Enlightened equipment bag, cost even more than the Sea to Summit bag. It's a couple of $100s. I don't want to replace it if I don't have to. I want it to keep working for me for a very long time. I don't endorse any of these companies, and other than the fact that I use their products. I don't get anything out of it. I'm not a salesperson for them. I don't get any sponsorship or anything. I just like their product. And I'm happy with any company that gives me a good product. And most of these companies have very good customer service. So once again, if you have damage to your gear, you want to know how to maintain it, check the websites. They're going to all have frequently asked questions on how to wash, how to maintain it. If there's a question that you're not sure of, like you have a tear in your bag, what should I do? Contact them. You'll probably have to end up shipping it back to them, but you can take pictures, attach pictures to the email. Let them know exactly what, the more information you give them, the more information they can give you on what to do to keep your equipment serviceable. The big thing you want to do is do a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of time, 5 minutes to take care of a sleeping bag generally will keep these products working for you for a very long period of time, that you can use these for years of use. Be careful if you're going to wash your bag. I can honestly say I don't wash my sleeping bag. There's no need for it. If it got extremely dirty and I had maybe some smell or funk I couldn't get out of it, I probably would wash it. I would follow, once again, the manufacturer direction of the type of machine to use. Sometimes you have to use a certain type of machine. It's usually a commercial machine without a center post so that it won't damage the bag. You want to use a certain product that is good for the fill you have, whether it's a actual down product or a synthetic product. If you find your bag is not shedding water like it used to, maybe there's a recommendation of a product you can do to revitalize that coating. Check with the manufacturer. They're your best bet because it's their product and they've already done the research on what's good for their product, what will work, what won't work. Use great care in drying any of these bags. Not just because you don't want to damage the fill, but the actual bag itself. Because these bags are so sheer, in a regular dryer with regular heat, you will melt some of these products. I have seen sleeping bags that have been melted from heat. Maybe it got too close to a fire trying to dry it out, but I've had people put it in a sleeping bag and it melts. It's plastic, it's polyester, it's a type of plastic, it's spun plastic, it will melt. So you want to be careful. Check with the manufacturer of how they recommend you do that. Is that in a dryer on a cool setting, or perhaps just putting it out in the sun and letting it dry for a couple of hours will do the job, and you don't risk damaging it by melting it with heat. So that's going to be it. Hopefully I didn't go too long or too in detail. Hopefully I answered any of your questions about routine care. This is stuff I do every time I come home. When I come home, you'll see, the backpack is sitting in the corner airing out. My tent is usually set up, cleaned and put away, and my sleeping bag probably stays out for 3 to 4 days on a chair or on a couch, airing out. And I'll flip it inside and out more than one time. I just want to get that air around it to get that smell out, depending on how bad the trip was or how bad it smells. But it's going to usually be at least 3 to 4 days before I put that sleeping bag away, at a minimum. That's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've gotten some value out of it. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. If you like what I'm doing, please leave a like or a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. And as always, leave a comment below. If I missed something, an experience you had with your bag, maybe a practice you do to take care of your gear, either immediately when you get home or long-term storage, any of those comments would be welcome. Share with us so that we can all learn. Once again, as usual, I thank you for taking time out of your day to watch these videos. Till we meet again.